Welcome to season 3 of the Living and Learning podcast. We are so excited to hear more about how our mission statement is actually lived out across each of our programs. We're going to hear stories about excellent academics, living in community, and what it looks like to engage in the world with a biblical worldview. We are so excited to spend some time with you together. Hey everybody, and welcome back to our Living and Learning podcast. It has been so fun to just hear stories from folks who are connected with all of our different study away locations. Today we have Ian with us, which is so exciting. We're going to have a conversation today a little bit about, again, we're going through parts of our mission statement. And so today we're going to talk about how Ian specifically kind of engaged in the challenges of living cross-culturally through the lens of a biblical Christian worldview. So excited to have you, Ian. Tell the folks a little bit about who you are, what semester you studied with us, and then what university you're from.
Yeah, I'm super excited to share a little bit about my story. Excited to be here, and hopefully, a few of you guys will be inspired and hop on an airplane soon. But yeah, my name's Ian. I studied abroad the spring of 2025, which for me was the spring of my sophomore year. And then I go to Concordia University in Irvine, so sunny Southern California. And I went to Rome, Italy,
That's awesome.
with living and learning, obviously.
Yeah. What is your major right now? Remind me.
Finance. Yeah, so I'm finance and
Okay.
my minor is data analytics. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Smart guy. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, yeah, I'm excited to jump in a little bit just to hear more about your semester. But before we do that, we are gonna just take a quick break and then we will come right back in.
Hi, this is Meg, a Living and Learning Director of Student Life, and I wanted to let you know that we are hiring resident coordinators for our semester and summer programs. If you're passionate about cultivating Christian community and feel called to disciple college students, this may be the perfect role for you. Our resident coordinators live on our campuses in Ecuador, Italy, England, and the US, and they run student life activities, help create a safe and inviting space for students, and support students during their semester or summers with us. If you're preparing to graduate in the spring and you're looking for a ministry role, or if you're ready for a change and are interested in life-giving work, visit landli.org/careers to learn more and apply today for an upcoming summer or semester program.
Awesome. Yeah, again, today we are with Ian, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what it was like for him living in Rome for a semester. So, before we kind of get into your time in Rome specifically, was there something that kind of drew you to the semester in Rome in particular, or what kind of helped you choose that location and maybe our program specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of ended up in Rome, like process of elimination,
Okay.
which was awesome. I think that God had a big hand in kind of
Mhm.
guiding me there. It wasn't really like a direct thing that I seeked out. So I knew I
Yeah.
wanted to study abroad, and my school offers the ability to pretty much study abroad anywhere in the world. Um, I love Italian culture, and so I wanted to go to Spain or Italy, and then eventually decided on Italy, and then looked into like Milan. But I had a friend who studied abroad, living and learning in Rome in the fall of 2023, who I had a really great conversation with, something just like kind of like what we're doing right now, and ended up convincing me to be a part of living and learning, just kind of how your community is set up, and um, just the whole organization does such a good job of supporting you throughout the process,
Mhm.
and I like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome that a lot of times I talk to students and they're like, someone that I knew studied abroad, and so that kind of sparked interest. So it's always awesome to have conversations like this because it helps kind of paint a picture of what a semester could look like for students who have maybe never considered or never imagined themselves in that type of environment. So I'm glad you had a friend or someone who you could kind of brainstorm and have that kind of initial conversation with. So then once you were in Rome, it sounds like maybe you had a little bit of admiration or just like curiosity about culture in Rome before you got there. But what was it like to kind of be immersed in culture in Rome? Was there anything you learned that you like didn't expect? Like what was it like to be just immersed in the culture
Yeah.
in Rome?
I mean, I think that everyone's experience is unique, which is so awesome. I think I'd never left the US before studying abroad, and I
Yeah.
think some students have that experience as well. So I had no idea what to expect. And so, of course, I was shocked by a bunch of different things, but Italians, they don't really wear shorts. They don't really wear hats. They don't really wear like baseball hats. So if you wear shorts and hats, or like flip-flops or anything like that, they're gonna probably know exactly where you're from.
Mm,
Um, but little things like that, and then bigger things of just like how they approach, work and food and the values that they have on different things. A lot less value on efficiency and a lot more
mm,
value on like community, and kind of things like that that I picked up on right away, which I think was awesome. I don't know if you want to dive more into that later on, but those are some
yeah.
things that I kind of picked up right
Yeah.
away. Was just these societies operate very differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would love to jump into that.
Okay.
So
Cool.
just yeah, even like what was that like to engage with a totally different way of operating in society and how that was different from maybe like the way that you were coming into the semester from your own background?
Yeah, I think it like teaches you a lot that there's multiple ways to do things and there's not always a right way to do something.
Yeah.
And it comes down to things that are really, really little, like, how, for example, like coffee shops, right? They didn't really have like lines. So like lines, in the US, it's like if you cut somebody in line, like,
Yeah.
you're gonna get in trouble and someone's gonna get really mad. They don't really have lines there. Everyone kind of crowds around and sort of just like goes when they think it's the right time. And so there's little things like that, which kind of just is kind of a metaphor for, I think, a culture that is less obsessed with perfectionism, right? So something as small as that, and then you can see it in the bigger concept of society where they they kind of just go about life in the way that they're comfortable with, which I think was really interesting. And then yeah, like not a huge emphasis on timeliness, right? Like what we have in the United States, where if you're if they say if you're on time, you're late. That's definitely
Yeah.
not a thing there. And so a lot less organization, but I think in the US we look at that as oh no, that means everything's going to collapse. But in reality, that's not what it means for them. Maybe it would be for us, but um, yeah, that was huge. That was a huge thing that I learned. Very, very like a little bit more of a collectivist culture rather than an
Totally.
individualist culture. A lot more emphasis on the group as a whole, the
Mhm.
family, things like that, rather than personal growth and you don't see like people all obsessed with self-improvement and all that stuff
Hmm.
over there. So yeah, if
Yeah.
there's an area
Yeah.
that you're curious to dive into, I'm happy to
Yeah.
go down the
Yeah.
rabbit hole.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so awesome to even in just hearing you, like it seems like you were picking up on a lot of things culturally, which I think is awesome. And we encourage students to yeah, just like figure out how those things kind of sit with them as they're engaging in their particular semester. So maybe yeah, would love to hear from you, like was there any one of those particular things that maybe like kind of brushed up against anything in you that was like ooh, this is a little bit challenging to face a new reality culturally? Was there anything like that, or if not, was there anything that was like maybe just really different from how you were raised or the kind of like cultural norms that you knew prior to entering into your semester?
Yeah, I think when I went in with such a like focus on being adaptable that nothing really like challenged me
Yeah.
a huge amount because especially knowing that you're only there for a limited amount of time. I think a lot of it really intrigued me, kind of like
Yeah.
how with the whole concept of even something little like the line cut, there's no lines, literally made me realize like this one thing shows everything about their entire culture. And so and it's the exact same with the like something like the United States. I thought that was super interesting. So I kind of found myself doing that a lot, like observing, things that they emphasize and then what that shows about like the culture as a whole. And then I was comparing and contrasting everything to the US, I
Mm,
think just like constantly. And so, or like emphasis on work, right? They don't emphasize, um, they work to live. And in the US, obviously, a lot of people live to work.
mm,
That was a huge thing I noticed, right? And so yes, they had, better work-life balance in some ways, but then there's also the flip side where some parts of the society have become a lot less developed and have maybe not kept up with the pace of other countries, right? But it's a trade-off. It's they live a better day-to-day life, but maybe, things aren't going to be as developed or technologies aren't going to be as developed. And that's just because they don't choose to emphasize it. So like learning those things was super, super interesting as to what societies are kind of like okay with trading off for what they value. Um, Even things like grocery stores being like a quarter of the size that they are in the US, right?
mm.
You don't, we're so efficient. It's like we go to Costco on Sunday, we prep 25 meals,
Yep, yep.
So over there, it's like they go to the grocery store every single day. So you go in, you get
Hmm,
what you need for like lunch and dinner, and then you go home, you cook it, and you just kind of hit the store on your way home because the
hmm,
ingredients are more fresh. And that kind of also showed me about society. Like they take things more day by day. They don't necessarily forecast out their next 5 years of their life. I don't think that they
hmm,
even understand the concept of doing that. And I think it allows them to be very present. So
hmm.
I didn't
That's
really have any
beautiful.
conversations with people there that were like, I felt like, oh, they're not present. Like, oh, they're thinking about something else or like they're on their phone or something like that. Like that didn't really exist as much because I think people weren't very as distracted, which I really liked. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And that
Yeah.
is, I think, a really special way to even just engage with people that are different from us. And even you had mentioned a little bit about kind of choosing whether intentionally or non intentionally, which I would love to hear a little bit more about, but your kind of posture of going into the semester wanting to be adaptable and kind of wanting to be a learner. And so tell me a little bit about that. Like were you really thoughtful and intentional about coming in with that posture? And then how do you feel like that kind of influenced the way that you were able to see these different ways in which their society or their culture was different?
Yeah, I think I came in and I was like, if I'm not super adaptable, then I'm gonna just be so frustrated. So I kind of let go of everything before. I think that I would really encourage any student to do the same. Um, just go in expecting everything to be crazy and things are gonna fall through and you're not gonna understand things. So when you come from that understanding, when things do go well, you actually feel really good and you're, oh, I can do this. So kind of having that I think is super important going in because you want to set yourself up for success. You don't want to set yourself up
Totally.
for failure. And also just the concept that you should 100% prepare yourself, but knowing that that preparation is kind of isn't necessarily going to fix everything. Like in one
Yeah.
week you're going to learn more than if you prepared for a whole month.
Mm,
So, I think that's super important for students. You got to just go in and be ready to kind of be a fly on the wall, I guess, like with the society and just kind of observe and um, do your best and don't get so discouraged, if something
mm.
doesn't line up how you want it to, or you buy milk from the store and it turns out that it's like heavy cream, and then you got to go
Totally.
back. Like little stuff like that. You
Totally.
just you just got to let it go, like laugh about it. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's
totally,
big.
totally. That is, I think, uh, you mentioned the balance of preparing and, like, doing your due diligence, but also,
Yeah,
like, holding that loosely and holding
yeah,
that
for
all with
sure.
open hands because, yeah, ultimately, you have no idea what it's gonna actually be like until you're there. And so I think that's a really beautiful even like tension to balance of like, okay, if I'm thinking about studying abroad in the future, what does it look like for me to get excited and do some research and maybe, learn some phrases in Italian or whatever the case may be. But to also know like, okay, I need to be humble enough and curious enough to enter into this space knowing I'm not the dominant culture, I'm not the dominant language, and so I'm going to learn a lot just by literally being here. So, thanks for sharing a little bit about that too, because I think that's really important and can even help um students who are curious about stepping into a type of semester like that with just a kind of a sense of like, yeah, what's the best way to, or maybe not the best way, but just like what is maybe a helpful way to prepare for a new semester. So yeah, thanks for sharing about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Before we dive a little bit deeper, we'll take one more break. But I'm excited to continue this conversation with Ian. So sit tight and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Bethany, the Director of Operations and Outreach at Living and Learning International, and I have a quick invitation for you. I hear people tell me all the time, I wish I would have studied abroad before I graduated. Well, I don't want you to miss out on the opportunity to spend time abroad and earn credit towards your degree. If you're ready for an incredible cross-cultural experience, consider spending a summer away with Living and Learning. During your summer away, you'll earn internship credit toward your degree from a unique internship placement related to your area of study. You'll also get the opportunity to dive into the culture of Quito, Ecuador, explore the wonders of the East Coast, or walk through history in Rome, Italy. Students who spend a summer away develop unique skills that get you career ready while you're immersed in a new culture. If you're ready to apply for this life-changing experience, visit livingandlearninginternational.com.
Awesome. Ian, this is good stuff. And I think just even as you have been sharing some of the things that you were learning about culture while you were there, it also makes me curious of like, yeah, were there some particular things that you really appreciated about the differences between Italian culture and maybe like what you have known about US culture as you were kind of comparing and contrasting them?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. There's like so many different things that
Yeah.
that I could say. I think one thing that I think about is kind of like I think I'm a business major, so like
Yeah.
observing how like business operated there was interesting, and they
Mm.
don't have this obsession of like scaling things bigger. So like we did a business tour in Florence of a leather shop. So if you guys go, you'll get to do that, which is just amazing experience. But like we were talking to him about like what are your goals for the business? Like do you plan to grow it? And like he literally did not comprehend like what we were saying and like the concept of like opening more stores or doing that. Like they didn't really understand that because they're just fully satisfied with what they have going at the moment. And I think that was really cool. So I kind of admired that. Not that everyone should do that, right? But I really admired that. And like also just something specific like with their food. They just
Mm.
are so intentional with food and everything's fresh, right? And it's like the food there is just such higher quality than a lot of food that you're going to eat in the US. In the US, you have this choice. Like you can get access to really, really healthy food, but you can also get access to horrible food. And there it was mostly all um, healthy, which I
Mm.
really admired about their culture. Man, there's just so many different things that I could say.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that I- Italian people too, they're just very good conversationalists and like they're very they just love to talk. They're either really brief with you or they want to talk forever. And I like that because they're in the US, there's this concept of, oh, hey, nice to meet you know, you go to order at Starbucks, hey, nice to meet you. How's your weekend? But they probably don't actually care, right?
Mm.
In Italy, it's like they're either gonna be like, what do you want? Right? Or they're gonna ask you a question and they're gonna like let that line sit there and talk to you
Mm.
for like 15 minutes. They don't care if like their work isn't
Wow.
getting done. So that was super interesting. I was on a train too, back from Sorrento to Rome, and we spoke to this Italian woman for the whole time, like 3 hours, just about like um, life in Italy. Basically, we were just comparing our cultures the entire time, and like
Wow.
she had like a meal from her mom that she made, and she gave it to us like
Oh my
to try
gosh.
it because she's like, no, you guys have to try this. Like you've never had it
Wow.
before. Just gave us her like lunch for the next day, and like all this stuff, and I just like that happening in the US, I feel like would be a lot more rare. So I
Mm,
just really admired it because they're not individualists. It's not like, oh, I need this food. I need to get this food because if I don't save it, then tomorrow I have to go to the store. She wasn't really even thinking about that. She's just thinking about the present moment. And she wasn't even that much older than us. She was probably like 25. Um, I just thought that was really, really interesting how
yeah,
they're so intentional. There's no
yeah,
polite conversation and small talk about
yeah,
when in reality they're just it's a formality in the US, right? To talk about how you are and then go into what they really want. They wouldn't do that. And I really liked that because a lot of US people thought, oh, Italians are so they can be so rude. Like all they didn't even ask me how I am. They just asked me what I want. And but that's just because they're being genuine, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's an awesome perspective because I think, yeah, sometimes it's easy to, when you're faced with something that's different, yeah, sometimes it's easier to be critical because you've never known that or you've never seen that. And so it's really beautiful and really powerful to hear you talk about some of these experiences through this lens of like, wow, this is maybe not the norm in context and culture in the US, but I learned something really valuable from them. And
Yeah.
that is what we hope for when students step into these experiences is, and you even said this like at the beginning of our conversation, but um our desire is not to prove that there's one right or wrong way to go about doing life, but to just present students with a different option, right? Like a different way of engaging in conversation, a different way of engaging in business, a different way of engaging in food. And so it's really powerful to hear you kind of talk about what it was like for you to go through those things. So, even thinking about like when you entered back into your home context in the US, was there was there anything that you maybe learned from Italian culture that you were like, "Man, I would love to maybe like implement this new way of doing life back here in the US?" Um yeah, was there anything that you took from what you learned culturally in Italy and applied now in the way that you live in the US?
Yeah, I think it's there's like a couple little things that are like very
Yeah,
direct, but I think a lot
yeah,
of it is indirect in the sense of like you almost don't even realize it. Like if like the experience really shapes you in ways that it's not like I'm actively like, oh, I learned this, I'm gonna do that, you know?
totally.
But like, I they make coffee in what's called a mocha pot. It's like this little thing you put on the stove and it like heats the coffee. So I have one of those. I use it now. It like
Mm,
reminds me of being back there. So like there's
that's
little
awesome.
stuff like that, which I just think is cool. Or like recipes that I learned there like pasta recipe that I like
Yeah.
to use now. So there's like a lot of little stuff like that. And then on the bigger scale, I think just like the humility, right? Like I think
Mm,
I've really taken that and been able to look at people who live different ways of life and be I've become more curious, right?
mm,
Which I think has been awesome to kind of ask people about their cultures and like the way that they live and how it's different than the U.S. and um, what might be better, what might be worse. But I think what it does teach you though, when you go back, it actually teaches you possibly more or the same about your own country than it does about the
yeah,
one you're
that's good.
visiting. I think people don't really understand that fully until they go, but teaches you a lot about your country and the things that you appreciate about where you live, the things that you question about where you live. Teaches you so much. Like I feel like my understanding of American culture is really good, and I appreciate so many more things. I question so many more things, and then the same with if you're in Europe or if you're in Italy too, you learn a lot about just European culture as a whole. And so the same thing, the same things that I admire and the same things that I also question of why do they do this way or why do they still do it this way? And I think it's really cool to not be saying a conclusion as to this is right and this is
Totally.
wrong, but like it is okay to now appreciate certain things or vice versa. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And I think even that requires a ton of humility to sit in the in between of like, I don't actually think I have to come to a conclusion on this thing. Like, I think I can just I think I can say like these two things are different, and in their differences they're really admirable, or they're really beautiful for the context that they're involved in. And so yeah, I think it's been really cool just to hear you speak with such curiosity and such humility as you've told stories of what your semester has looked like. So when you think about maybe like a student who is wondering about like, should I step into this new culture to study abroad? I'm kind of nervous about it. I've never experienced a culture outside of my own. What would you say maybe to that student to encourage them or empower them
Yeah.
to take the opportunity to step into a new culture?
Yeah, I think that I'm very opinionated on this topic, and I think that everyone needs to study abroad if they have the chance and if they're able to.
Yeah.
I think there's a few different ways you can look at it. I think number one is um, a lot of things, everything is scary, right? Like there's so many things that are intimidating and scary, and it's just not a good enough reason to not do something. Like
That's
the
good.
reward is just so much, it's going to be so much better. So that's the first thing, right? Is you're going to get through it, especially with living and learning. They have insane support. Like I had my RCs, you can text them at any hour of the day when you need anything, you need to know where something is, you need help, you need someone to talk to, like they're there for you, they're your friends. So living and learning specifically, you will not be stranded. You're the opposite of stranded. You're like
Yeah.
tied down to these people who you'll get to know really well. And so that's the first thing. So I just don't think that that's really even it just it's a little bit irrational when you really start to look at it, right? To be that fearful of it. Second of all is you'll never be able to do this again. And so if you look at it from a cost perspective, if you wanted to go on a multi-month trip to another country and live there and learn, and you're doing something productive and you're young and you're shaping your life, you'll never be able to do it again. So people say, "Oh, I'll travel later." No, you won't. You'll have work, you'll have kids, you'll have family.
Totally.
You'll maybe
Totally.
get a week out in Europe at some point in your life, and it won't be the same. So you'll never get the chance again, and it's the biggest regret that I hear from people who are in their 30s
Mm.
and 40s about college. Is I tell them I studied abroad, they say, "Man, that's the biggest thing I regret was not studying abroad." And so for me, that like scared me. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to have that regret." And then the other thing is the things that are here now, because a big reason people don't want to study abroad is they have so much going on around them.
Mm.
Those things will be there and you'll be better at them when you get back. And so that was a big thing for me
Mm.
was, oh, I don't want to study abroad because I have a job, I have school that I really care about. I have these things that I'm making progress on. If I leave, then I come back and it's gonna be like I'm starting over. It's definitely not. That's completely irrational as well. And so I think that I always say this, and it's a bit bold, but I just say if you can study abroad, you want to study abroad, and you don't, it's just unwise. I just don't know why you would do it. And so,
Yeah.
especially with living and learning, because they make it so easy. The application is so easy. Signing up for your classes, it's literally a Google form, guys. Like you fill out two Google forms, and then you just get on an airplane and you
Yeah.
go. And so
Yeah.
it's so easy. They work with your schools as far as finances, and so I think that every single sort of reason to not go, there's always five reasons to go. So I just really encourage students to do it, and like if I could do it over again, I would like 5 million times. It was so fun, and so
Mm.
and the biggest thing is too, yeah, like you're just gonna have so much fun. Like of course you're gonna be
Mm.
doing school, and that's important, but you're gonna be having so much fun making memories that you're not gonna get, and then it's also gonna like recharge you for the rest of your
Mm.
college experience because it gets boring. You're at school for 2 years. I got to take this semester, and now when I come back to school, it feels awesome, like I'm refreshed, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
so, um, you just gotta do it. You just gotta study abroad. I don't
You gotta do it.
I can't rationalize not doing it. It's so cool. Like, the
Yeah.
fact that it even exists to where we live in, like, a society where you can just pick a point on the map, on the globe, and just be like, "I'm just gonna go there and do school there, so you're not even, like, losing out on anything, is absurd. I mean, I can't believe it's even real. So,
Yeah.
I hope that all students will take advantage of it, and all students will realize, like you were saying, that it's not that intimidating. It's really
Mm.
not that and specifically, the biggest advantage of living and learning is it's not intimidating. You don't have to sign up for your classes in another language. You don't have
Yeah.
to have professors in there speaking other languages. your classroom in Rome is 30 feet from your room.
Yeah.
You don't even have
Yeah.
to go anywhere for your classes. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. So
Totally. Wow. You made me want to study abroad. I'm ready
gotta
to
do
go.
it. You gotta do it.
I'm ready to go. Yeah, it's awesome to I mean, again, like those are very thoughtful even just ways that you're thinking about what this opportunity was like for you. And I
Yeah.
think just to highlight what you shared about cuz I talked to a ton of students who are like I don't know that I want to study abroad because I'm afraid of missing out on the things that are happening here, like at their
Yeah.
home university. I hear that a lot. And so
It's the worst
for you
excuse
to,
ever.
yeah, talk about it,
It's
Ian.
so, I mean, it's just not good excuse. I agree. I missed out on stuff here, but
Yeah,
I feel bad for them for missing out on what I got to experience. So,
totally. Totally. And
yeah.
you even I think your perspective is really unique and really cool in that you literally are like I actually came back and was better at those things because of the experiences that I had internationally and coming back with this sense of refreshment. Like I think I don't know if students think about that. And so that I think is really valuable. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. Thanks for talking through what it was like for you to be in Rome and really come in with the posture of being a learner and coming back to the US with this new perspective on yeah how to just be a really good like member of community, member of society. um yeah, that was really awesome to chat with you, Ian. Thanks so
Thanks.
much for
Yeah,
talking
and
today.
if anyone's listening and wants to talk to me, they can get my information from whoever at Live in Learning, and I'm happy to talk to them. So,
Come on, Ian, you're the
yeah,
best. Thanks so much, really good to chat with you. And yeah, I'm excited for all the folks who will be inspired by this conversation. So thanks for being with us, Ian.
of course, happy to do it.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for spending some time with us on this week's episode of the Living and Learning podcast. If you want to learn more about us, you can follow us on Instagram or find our website in the show notes of this episode. We cannot wait to get to know you more throughout this process.